Hello everybody, today I want to show you how you can activate in Metagrid the built-in Forex EA, and you can here see what the EA can do for you. And you need for this the premium version of Metagrid. And if you're here on our homepage from Metagrid, metagrid.com, you can see there are two different versions. There's the standard version and there's the premium version. And in the standard version we have, as you can see here, over 100 functions. So basically it's all you need for the normal trading. And if you decide for the premium version, you have also these 100 functions, but you also get the daily generated order blocks for all forex pairs, metals and indices. So you can see the order blocks or the prediction for the order blocks for every day. In the premium version you get also the daily generated bank buy and sell prediction levels. You get auto trend lines and you have the EA built in the premium version. If you don't have it and at the moment you have the standard version, it's very easy to upgrade. Simply write to support@metagrid.com, support@metagrid.com, and we tell you how you can upgrade to the premium version in case you are at the moment a standard version user. So let's jump right into it. We open a blank chart. It does not matter which pair you use. You should use one of the major or minor forex pairs, but it does not matter which one you use. Let's use here the Aussie dollar, for example. It does not matter which time frame you choose for activate the EA. So we have our blank chart now here. Now we simply drag and drop our Metagrid to this chart. It should be here in the navigator window. If you don't have this window, you can activate it here. If you click here on this button, the navigator window comes to your screen. So we simply drag and drop it to our blank chart. Then the Metagrid setting menu opens, and here you have to input your own license code. And then what you should change if you want to use the EA, the first of all is that we change here to 1, because we want to have the expert mode if we use the EA. Basically the EA, if you activate it in the next step, it would change it for you, but I like to change it manually too, that we have here the 1 in it, so that it uses by standard the expert mode. What we have then to change is we scroll down, we let all other things in the default setting, we don't change here anything, okay? And you can see if you scroll down, you come to a section settings for auto trader. First of all, we have to turn it on. There are 3 different modes, and you can see here the 3 different modes. If we put in here a 0, the auto trader is activated. If we put in here a 1, it's a semi mode. I explain it later what this means. And if we have here a 2 in this field, like by default, the auto trader is turned off. And you can see that 2 is at the moment here in the settings list, so the EA does not work at the moment, it's turned off. If you want to use the EA, we simply put in here a 0, so we have activated it, and now we can make different settings for our EA. First of all, auto trader decides lot size and risk. If you turn this to true, the auto trader will decide for you which lot size it uses and how big the risk for the trade is. This means the EA tries to calculate how risky the trade is. It wants to open, if the EA calculated it's a not so risky trade, it will use a higher percentage of your money, and in this case a higher lot size. And if the EA calculated this is a riskier trade, it will decrease the lot size. Maybe it goes with a very small risk into this trade. But for now, let's skip this field at the moment. I want to explain it a little bit more later. For now, we let it on false. This means the EA does not decide the lot size and risk by itself. The next field by default is false, but we change it to true. This is very important. We have to change it to true. If you don't change this, the EA will not select by itself the pair it wants to trade. And if you don't give it the opportunity to change the pairs by itself, you will have very, very rare trades or no trades at all. The EA normally needs here a true in it, and then it selects by itself the pair it wants to trade. Basically, it scans in the background your pairs, and if it finds on a pair a good trade, it will change the chart to this pair, and it will then open a trade on this pair. And it only uses pairs you have here in your market watch window. You can see these are my pairs I selected. You can change it like you want. All the pairs are in this market watch window from MT4 will be used here for the auto choose pairs. Okay, but important, you should use true. If you use false, you will not see many trades. Here is the alert option. If the EA changes to a new pair, it gives a lot of alerts. I personally would let this to false in this case. The next one is the price action time frame. You should not change this. It is by default 15. So my advice is let it to 15, because this only decides how fast the EA scans through your pairs. It has nothing to do on which time frame the EA trades. It has only to do how fast the EA scans through your pairs, and 15 is the number you should have on it. And now you have a lot of new setting options which were not there in the old version. You can now decide how the EA should act on your pairs. First of all, the importance of price action. Here you can define how important for you and your trades are the price action. You have the possibility between 1 and 10. If you say, okay, I don't like price action trades, I don't think they are so important, then you can maybe change it to 1, and then the EA will not look that much on price action. So even if the price action is bad, the EA would maybe take a trade. By default it's 7, so it's not the highest possibility. It's a very high number, but not the highest one. So 7 is by default, which I use. So the price action is, I would say, very important, but not at the highest possibility we have here. 10 is the highest number. Then we have the importance of trend lines. So this means the EA looks for the daily trend line. The trend line may be on the H4 time frame and so on. And if the EA sees, okay, there is maybe a bounce on a daily trend line or rejection on the daily trend line or on a H1 trend line, then the EA could decide to jump into a trade. And in this case, I have by default a 4, so the trend lines are important, but not that much. Okay, so it uses trend line trades, but not in that importance, like for example price action. The next one is importance of the order blocks. You know, if you have the order blocks already on your chart, and you know the older versions of Metagrid, we have the lines which show us where order blocks on our pairs, and here you can select how important the order blocks are for trading. And I have here chosen a number. By default it's 5, so it's important, but even not the highest number. So the order blocks are good, but I would not use the highest number for it. If you like the order blocks very much, you can, for example, use here the highest number 10. So we have here a number in the middle, which is by default very good. Then we have importance of trend direction. This means if the EA should trade only in the trend direction, or if this is not so important for you. Maybe you think, okay, it's a very low number. Why is this number not higher? The reason for this is especially on price action and on order blocks, we see very often that we get smaller trades, maybe scalping trades or trades which take some hours, which are in the opposite of the trend direction. This is the reason why by default this importance of trend direction is a little bit lower. If you like trend direction more, then you can, for example, here go to a higher number. But the opposite trades are often very good, so the importance is by default not so much. Then we have the importance of support resistance. It's very low here, as you can see by default. The reason for this is that the support and resistance, in my opinion, is especially on trending days not very good. So I like more personally the price action, the trend lines and the order blocks. And by default I think the support and resistance should be a factor, of course, but a lower factor if you have this on a higher number. Especially if you use here a high number by at price action, you can here use a lower number on the support and resistance, and the same is here on supply and demand. If you have the supply demand indicator, you know what supply and demand means. You don't need the supply and demand indicator if you use here the auto trader. The auto trader has a built-in supply and demand calculation. So even if you don't have the supply and demand indicator, the Metagrid EA can use the concept of supply and demand trading. Also, it's a very low number here. Because like I told you before, I have here a high number on price action, so supply and demand should be checked from the EA, but on a lower level here. And the last, not this the last one, and one more, amount of riskier trades. Here you can select how often the EA takes riskier trades for you. I have here also a very low number because I think it's better the EA takes quality trades and not so much the risky trades. Okay, but this is up to you. If you want more riskier trades, you can here put in a higher number between 1 and 10. And then we have the last setting options. Here it's the importance of higher time frames. What does this mean? This means how important is that the EA trades in alignment with the higher time frames. For example, if the daily time frame tells you we are on a uptrend, but the lower time frame is the opposite, then maybe the EA does not open this trade. And I also have here used a number not that high, but also not so low. It's more or less in the middle. Why? By default, the number 4, because it's the same, like I told you with the the trend direction. Because we have sometimes trades which are not in alignment with the higher time frame, but they are very good, especially rejections or some trades which are against the trend. And if you always have a very high importance of higher time frames, then maybe you get less trades. But it's up to you. I use here by default 4. By default, it's a very good setting, but you can try with different numbers if you find a better setting for you. The reason for this options is that you can now adjust the EA to your own trading style, like you trade. And if you, for example, don't like at all price action, then you give it here a lower number. You have always to choose between 1 and 10 here in these fields. Okay, here you have show on off button for auto trader. I would let this by true, that you can see when the auto trader is turned on. So we have now selected our settings for the EA. We have activated, like I told you before, I put here in the 0 that it's activated, and then we can click here on OK to load Metagrid on the chart and with the activated auto trader. I click now on OK, and you can see Metagrid is now on our chart. It tells us loading order levels in background because the EA needs this for its trading. And you can see that it says here stop scanning. This means the auto trader is active. If here is a button which says stop scanning, because if you click on this button, it stops the auto trader, okay? I'll show you this in a minute. We wait until the order blocks are loaded here and all is set up. Now you can see Metagrid is completely loaded in the premium version. We have the order blocks here painted on our chart, the red ones and the green ones, the red ones for the sell order blocks and the green ones for the buy order blocks. And you can see the EA already changed now to a new pair. It's weekend at the moment, but still even on weekends the EA will change through the pairs. What happens if the EA change to a new pair? Then the EA wants to look deeper into this pair and on the chart to search for a potential entry. So this means not that the EA wants to trade this pair if it changes to it. It only wants to scan the structure of this pair. It wants to load the trend lines and order blocks, because in the background it sees there could be a trading opportunity maybe in the next hours, and this is the reason that the EA change from time to time to the pairs, that it can load the structure of this pair. So don't be confused if the EA changes all day long through the pairs and there is no trade. This is only for calculating and scanning the structure of a pair if the EA wants to look deeper into it. And in this case it changed here to the Aussie New Zealand, as you can see. We had here, if you trade manually, for example, the order blocks, you can see that here a price action arrow which shows a sell trade, and in this case it would be a very nice sell trade on the Aussie New Zealand on Friday. And you can also see we have here the automatic painted trend lines here on our chart. This is also a trend line, it's a daily trend line. The yellow one is the H4 trend line. There's an own video for this, how the auto trend line works or are working, and the same is for the order blocks. We have our own video for the order blocks and the price action arrows. You can find this in the playlists for the Metagrid Trade Manager. In this video I want only to show how the auto trader works. We are not at the end with the auto trader, because I have to show you two more things, and they are very important because we need more charts to open that the auto trader does work like it should be, okay? But I have promised you that we want to look a little bit deeper in the settings for let's scroll to it. Auto trader decides lot size and risk. We have at the moment this turned to false. If we would turn this to true, we get a different lot size for our trading. If we have it here to false, the auto trader uses the lot size you have here in your red menu. For example, if we say we want here 0.10, I click here to save, and now the auto trader would use for every trade it takes this lot size. It does not change this lot size. You have decided this lot size, okay? The next possibility is that you use a lot size based on your own risk. Then you would put in here a 0, and you decide here what risk you want to go for every trade. For example, I have here 4%. If you use this setting, now the EA would, every time it opens a trade by itself, risk 4% of your money in the account, of your MT4 account, okay? So in case you have a loser, you will lose 4% on each trade. Every loser loses 4% of your account balance here. Of course, you can go with 1% or 2%, it's up to you. And now, what is the difference if you tell the auto trader it should decide by itself what lot size it takes, okay? We turn it to true. Now the auto trader decides the lot size and risk by itself. Even if we have this to true, we have to tell the auto trader what is our maximum risk we want to go for it, okay? So this means we have a dynamic risk, because the auto trader, we have told the auto trader it can decide by itself how much it wants to risk, but still we have to tell the EA now what is the maximum risk we want to go. For example, we could say, okay, the maximum risk is 10%, for example. Okay, so we put in here a 10, and now the EA would calculate for every trade how risky it is, and if the EA comes to the conclusion, okay, this is a not so risky trade, it's a very standard trade, it looks good, then it would maybe go for the max percent of 10%, so it would risk 10% of your account balance. Or if the EA calculated, okay, this is a riskier one, maybe this could go wrong, then it would maybe only use only 2%. Even if you have your 10 in it, it would maybe only use 2 or 3% because it calculated and came to the conclusion this is a riskier trade. So you have then a dynamic lot size, but it will never be higher than the risk you added here in the red menu. Okay, this is the difference if you use here on our settings that the EA can decide by itself the lot size and risk. Then you have to tell the EA what is your max risk in percent you want to go for it. And if you have it to false, like we had it by default, then this is a static, more or less static lot size. Firstly, you can decide a static lot size. For example, here only a very small lot size, or you want to go with the risk in percent for auto, then this means that the EA always use now 2% risk. Of course, it's also dynamic because the more winners you have and the account balance grows, then of course the 2% are give you a higher and higher lot size. But still the EA will in this case every time use 2% of your account balance, whereas if you use the option that the auto trader can decide the lot size, it will use dynamic risk. I hope I could explain to you the difference of this setting. So by default, let's check again. I have turned it again to false. Yes, it's again to false. Perfect. And what we have to do now is that we have to make a template of this, what we did. Okay. So we have to make a template that we can use the settings we now have done on different charts. So we make here a template and we go to save template, and now we give this template a name. For example, you say Auto Trader 2022, and then we click on save. And now we have made this as a template, and now we open 3 more charts and we add the Auto Trader on this 3 charts, and I explain to you later why we have to do this. So we use, for example, Euro USD. It's the same like the first one. It does not matter which pair you use. You should use one of the Forex bigger pairs, that you can make sure that there really is going ticks on it, that the EA can work if it needs ticks to work. So let's use basically one of the major pairs for it. And then we go on template, we make load template, and then we load again here the Auto Trader template we just saved. Okay, we click on it, and then we have added the Auto Trader to the second chart. And we do the same with a third one. We open a new blank chart, and again we load our template we made. We have now 3 charts with the Auto Trader on it, and we do it one more time. We need 4 charts. It's again a blank chart. We make template, load template, and again our save template. And now we have the Auto Trader on 4 different charts, and on all charts the EA will switch through the pairs. It will scan the pairs, it will scan the structure. And the reason why we use 4 different charts is that the EA trades max on 4 pairs at the same time. So it happens not that often that we get 4 trades at the same time, but the EA can trade maximum 4 trades at the same time, and this is the reason why we put it on 4 charts. If you want only to have one trade on the same time, of course you can only put it to one chart. If you want to have only 2 trades at the same time max, then you put it only on 2 charts, but the normal setting is to add the auto trader on 4 different charts. Okay, of course you can change the settings on the different charts if you wanted. You can say I make one pair maybe with a lower price action and the other one with a higher one. This does not matter. Okay, this you can do, but basically I use on the 4 charts the 4 same settings, but you can do it like you want. And this is basically all you have to do. The auto trader is now up and running, and you can see this also if the EA tells you here the daily profit it made. If you see this line, you know the auto trader is activated. If you don't see this line, then something went wrong and the EA is not working at the moment. But if you see this line, today's EA profit, then you know the EA is running. If you want to stop the EA on one of these pairs, you simply have to click on this button, Stop Scanning. Then you can see now it says Stop Auto Trader, because we are now in the semi mode. This means the auto trader is still working, but only for your own manually trades. For example, if you would now open a sell or buy trade, then the EA would still manage your own trade. For example, it would close a trade earlier. If it sees price action changes, for example, then it would close your trade. And if you click next time on this button, now the EA is completely deactivated. Even on your own trades, the EA will not now, for example, close a trade earlier or so. So the EA is totally turned off, and you can see also that there is no line anymore which tells you the EA profit. If you click now again, you can see Start EA and Scan. Always what you see on this button is this what happens next. Yeah. So if I click on it, now the EA is active again. You see auto trader active. We have again our line which tells us the EA profit, and now the auto trader is active again. It will now completely act like you told it on the settings. It will look for possible trade entries, and it will automatically open and close these trades. If you click again, then you are now in the semi mode. You can see the line is not there anymore for the auto trader. Now it would only act as an auto trader for your own trades, for your manually trades. And you can see auto trader active is there, but not the line anymore for the EA itself. So now it would only manage your own trades, and by managing I mean it would close a trade earlier if the price action changes. You could open a buy or sell trade, and you define a stop loss and you define a profit target, but the EA would close your trade earlier in case that the price action changes. And if you click again, then all is deactivated. Then you can make your own trades and the EA will not take over in any case. And this is the same you can do in the settings of the EA. If you want only to have the semi mode, you will put in here the 1, and then by default the EA will start in the semi mode. You can check this. You can see auto trader is active, but we don't have the EA line. This tells us, yes, the auto trader is active, but it will only act as an auto trader if you open a trade. It will not open a trade by itself. Only if you open a trade, the auto trader will go active, and it will stop a trade earlier if it thinks the price action could change. And if you want to deactivate it completely by default, then you would here add the 2 in it, and now the auto trader is by default off, but still you can activate it by click on this button, of course, but by default it's turned off. And like I told you at the beginning, you need for all of this the premium version of Metagrid. And the question is, how many trades will the auto trader take? Of course, it depends what setting you are using for the auto trader. There are, like you saw, different and many different settings, and it depends what settings you use. Then you will see different trades every week. But I can tell you, it is not the same like the old version that it takes so many trades. It will wait much longer for good trades, and maybe you see 1, 2, max 3 trades a day maybe. Sometimes if we have a week where the charts are very confusing and maybe we have a lot of news and a lot of going on the charts and the EA cannot decide really in which direction to trade, maybe you see only 2 free trades in a week, on such a week. But it's really different. You will see days where you have more trades, and you will see days there's only 1 or 2 trades. Normally it takes 1 up to 3 trades a day. This is the normal behavior of the EA. If a complete week is over and you have no trade at all, then you should maybe contact our support and there's something wrong, because like I told you, normally you should have 1, 2 or 3 trades every day with the auto trader activated. That's it. I hope I could explain to you how to activate the auto trader. I wish you much fun with it and have a nice day. Until the next time, goodbye.